All right, this week we're going to be working on this beer Stein that I got a couple years back from, I think it was German Fest. It's just a old plastic Stein. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it in some leather to trim it out. I want it to match this one I did a couple years back. Like, not match it. This is one that I got the mug at Renaissance Fair and then did the leather. But I want something to go along with it. So I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to use this foam that I got a while back. It's thin. It's easy to work with. Just as a little insulation layer between this and some leather. Kind of wrap it. And we'll cut that down a little bit. And then I've got some leather colors that I'm thinking about using. I've got a nice little burgundy maroon kind of color going on here with this. And then I've got an accent layer that I'm going to use to kind of offset that. This is nice, almost a mustard yellow color to do this with. So I'll cut some trim out of that too. Important on this project is not for me. So I'm actually going to get some feedback from the person who this is intended for. So we're going to do some sketching, and of course that should take place over beer and popcorn. So please ignore the fingernails. I do not want a bunch of comments about how awesome those fingernails are. This video is not about that. But, if you see her, tell her how awesome they are, because she loves that. Anyway, these are just some sketches of what we think we might do along the way. This is going to be kind of a Harry Potter Gryffindor theme type of wrapping around here. So we're talking about maybe doing a Gryffindor crest here. We've got the lion right in the middle with some edge trim going on. But maybe I want to take it a little further. Maybe I want to get into some naughty Slytherin here. I'm not sure. Maybe we do something a little like this, put some stitching around the outside. Yeah, make it look rough. And then kind of put the crest right up in there. Or maybe we just go straight for the bodice type of look here and just stitch that together. I don't know. Either way, maybe I kind of like this better. We could do like a 3D printed bust to put behind here. Really give this some texture and some look. Okay, all right, fine. We're just doing the Gryffindor crest. Don't get excited over there. All right, so I pulled an image, and what we're going to do is we're going to trace this image. I need to create a cut path for the laser here, because I am going to laser cut the leather. It gives me a little crisper outline of what I want to do here. Do some multiple layers, but that is time consuming. So this is all going to be done little bit by little bit. I am going to fast forward through this a lot of, just so you don't have to sit here and watch me make all these mistakes as I'm trying to straighten out these lines and really kind of trace this curve nicely. But I'm going to do half of the outside of the crest, and then we'll kind of mirror that and see where we end up. I do want this to be symmetrical, and I can already tell from this image that I got that it's not. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just making sure that turns out being symmetrical for that outside crest piece. Otherwise, our art on this is not going to look good. The drawing itself looked fantastic the way it was, but it is not symmetrical, as we're going to see here in just a second. I'm pretty sure that the underlying image is going to poke out. Yep, it does. Absolutely does. Pokes out from the side of there. You can see how the tail kind of sticks out. Great. I find a lot of these artistic pieces, and these are fantastic, by the way. You guys doing fan art rock. I love your stuff, and I use it as a basis a lot. So, but I do have to resize a few things in order to make that work. So now I'm going to trace some of the lion going on here. Again, this is going to take a lot of tedious work. There are automatic ways to do this in the software I'm using. This is done in Inkscape, by the way. I am tracing this in Inkscape. Again, a free program because, I'm cheap. So there are ways to do this kind of automatically to trace the different colors. But I find that sometimes when I'm doing work like this, when I want a really precise path that kind of follows a form that I want, it's a little easier to do by hand. Maybe it's there's some time savings in having it automatically trace for me, but I don't know. I haven't found that to be the case all the time. So, like I said, I'm not going to bother making you guys watch me trace all of these things out. Just suffice to say, I am going to trace essentially the outside of the crest itself, that yellow layer. I'm going to trace the silver portion of the line, and I will trace the black/silver portion of the line to give me some multiple layerings going on. So forgive any like parts where you're like, oh, you didn't perfectly match that design. Yeah, I didn't. I know. I just need a smooth cut path for the laser. Remember, we are doing this in leather, so I can't make everything perfectly tiny. It does have to be rounded. And here's kind of what that design looks like when I pull away and simplify things down to where I can cut them with the laser, and it's not going to create tiny, tiny little ends. So I can then export that out over to SketchUp. And why would I go to SketchUp? Well, the reason I'm going to put this into SketchUp is I like to draw the holes that I'm going to use for stitching, because I like mine to be, I'm very particular about how my stitching is spaced, and that's a very tedious thing to do. So you can see I'm laying out all the lines here. These are going to be about, what did I do? About a 1/16 of an inch per stitch. So I go ahead and trace that along the path and then put in a small circle for each of those. I'm not going to make you watch all that. So once that's done, we export it back out of SketchUp into a form that the laser can accept. It's really, the laser's looking for some type of cut path. It's a plotter layout is what I usually use for that. So I've also laid out some other pieces for the wrapping, and we can use these pieces to kind of check and make sure everything is going to line up. I have laid out all the individual layers, so if I pull kind of a compilation together just to make sure that, yeah, everything's pretty much going to fit from the bottom layer up to the top layer there. From the bottom to the top, from the top to the bottom, something like that. Okay, cool. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and export everything over to a format that's going to be usable for the plotter. Again, to do that, I've got to kind of do a export from here, and then in Inkscape, I've got to do another conversion over to that plotter format. It's a little frustrating, but it works. All right, so without further ado, let's watch the laser do its work here. Maybe I'll put some music on in the background because I'm not going to narrate this whole thing. Okay, so here's what we got at the end of that. We've got some layers. Here's the bottom black layer, and on top of that, we're going to put this burgundy layer, and you can see the offset a little bit, see that black coloration. On top of that, we've got the yellow frame that's going to sit on top of all of that. Let's see if I can get that straightened a little bit. And then on top of all of that will be a dark brown layer that covers up most of all of that. Now, the way I have this laid out, it should give a little pop texture to that yellow frame as well. Oh, and I've got these side pieces as well that just have some edge stitching and stitched together. So without further ado, let's get into the stitching part. So I use double needle and kind of double up the thread. It makes it a little bit quicker, and then we've got, boom, there's our first layer done. So now we're going to go ahead and stitch this next part. This next one's tough. I actually have to do 3 layers of leather together, including that yellow frame layer that kind of acts as a spacer, and that's actually going to add that edge pop that we're looking for. And boom, That's those layers all sewn together. So now it's time to stitch the edges together between the 3 panels here. So the stitching between the 3 panels is something similar to what you'd see on a baseball. It's very simple, easy to do, straightforward. Keeping your tension and consistency on like which stitch is left, right is real important though. And with that, let's take a look at what we got for our final result here. So there's all 3 panels put together. Looks pretty good. You can see I just did a pretty simple stitch around the edges there. I just wanted to fold them over and keep them gone pretty good. So let's wrap that around the mug here real quick and see how well we fit up. And crap. Okay, I screwed that up. Okay, screw this whole project. We're done. Just kidding. Yeah, not done, but I do have to fix this. Oops. Yeah, so 4 plus 4 plus 8 is 16, not 12. So let that be a lesson to the kids out there. So I'm just going to trim basically a whole panel off this. So there goes, a couple hours of stitching. So we'll just take the cut wheel here and just do a little slice and get that a little bit on the other side of that stitch there. At least it'll hold together, and that's going to fold underneath. So not a tremendously bad thing to happen, but yeah, it's just kind of a waste. So at the end of all that, it's now 8 plus 4 and a little extra, which is just over 12. And guess what the circumference of the mug is there? It's 12. So that's kind of what we're dealing with now. It's got a little hangover there, but yeah, so do I. You know what? Shut up. Anyway, so we'll wrap that back around the mug, and we're going to go ahead and check and see how that fits. And yep, that looks much better there. I'll probably have to make a couple cuts here and there in the leather, make it fit around the handle a little better. So from here, I've already put a layer of insulation in there, but also I took some foil tape I had laying around from a different project and stuck it to the mug. Again, I want that silver layer in the background. So it's, remember, silver with black and burgundy on top of that. And if you want to give me a hard time about not putting the cream on the corners, that's fine. Yeah, I know. Okay, whatever. Everything lines up pretty good, except now I got to glue this down. So what I'm going to do is take my E6000 glue here. This is a little bamboo skewer. Haven't done enough bamboo skewer on the grill lately, so I got a bunch of these laying around. It's a little easy to get underneath these pieces. So do a little time lapse here, and you can watch along with me as I do this. I am going to tape some of these down. This glue is not immediately adhesive. It does take about 24 hours to cure, but after that, it's pretty rock solid stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and let this sit off to the side now that we're done. And there it is. There's our finished product. It's looking pretty good. Not perfect, but I'm pretty sure it'll work. But, more importantly, the big test is let's pour some beer in here and find out. I got this. That's pretty nice. It is wax sealed. You know what? I'm not ready to break that open just yet. So maybe, what do we got? Maybe a little Elysian? Nah, I don't have a bottle opener. All right, here we go. Wisconsin. Let's do a spotted cow. You got to christen things with spotted cow in Wisconsin. Yep. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to pour this in here, and this is going to be the worst poured beer I've ever had in my life, but I'm not going to waste the rest of your day. So here it is. Thanks for watching, and cheers, everybody.